Hello and welcome to my cake kitchen. My name is Gladys, and over here I make simple, informative tutorials to help you navigate cake decorating easily. Occasionally I do create some live baking sessions, and today's live baking session is one of those where we're going to make this simple and humble cupcake. I think we're almost starting a cupcake series inadvertently, because in my previous live I baked a cupcake. We topped it with some Russian buttercream. Many tips and in-depth information for you to understand the ingredient selection and all that went into making that rather lovely cupcake, which I ate on camera for everyone to have a look at. And rather importantly, on live sessions sometimes we can bake batches and then bring them back to make it very easy for us. But in my live sessions I like for us to see the results of what we are making. So today we are making a cupcake. As usual, I am going to be talking you through the ingredients. The cupcakes are going to be topped with simple Swiss meringue buttercream. Behind me here is the process I have already started. I already have in-depth tutorials of Swiss meringue buttercream here. I think I have 3 tutorials, and I also have a best tips video showing you all the things you need to do to get to the best result in your Swiss meringue buttercream. But in today's session it gives you a feel of making Swiss meringue buttercream where there is not much editing, so it gives you an opportunity to see exactly what we're doing, so you can be inspired with more information, and your confidence will be built enough to undertake baking and making cupcakes in your own time at home. So without having to waste your time, I'm going to get into the ingredients. And the cupcake we're making is actually going to be a simple jammy dodger cupcake. Jammy dodgers are a biscuit in the UK here that has some filling in them. They are lovely to eat, but for this cupcake we are hoping to use those biscuits, or cookies for that matter, to bring some texture. There's almost an intention to every bake, so if you get into baking, perhaps it's always better to identify the goal of your bake and what you want to get out of it in terms of taste, mouthfeel, which you can definitely tailor to your preferences. The last cupcake I made over here, we talked about how I wanted the cupcake for myself, which means I was able to adapt it to suit my preferences by changing a few ingredients here and there to get the results I wanted. In today's video, I am simply going to aim for some texture where there's a crunch to the cupcake, but it's not going to be missing moisture, because we want it to still be moist. We want it to be great to eat, but I just didn't want a simple vanilla cupcake that is delicate. I just wanted something you could bite into, something you could feel, have a different feeling in your mouth when you're eating it. And for that reason, I'm adding the jammy dodgers into the cupcake batter, which should bake all right. So the jammy dodger is not exactly a distinct flavor. It's vanilla. If anything, it's just because it's a cookie, so it brings a subtle secondary flavor to the vanilla cupcake itself, but it makes a difference to the crumb as well, because we are going to be aiming to use this to break the batter up a little bit, which will add to the crumb of the cupcake. So besides the jammy dodger, which is the main thing, we are also going to be topping the cupcake off with jammy dodgers. Another thing is that I chose Swiss meringue buttercream as my buttercream to go over the cupcake, simply because I didn't want a cupcake that was going to be overwhelmingly sweet. Because we're going to be adding some sweetness and texture from the jammy dodgers into an already sweet cupcake, I just thought I wanted a buttercream that is subtle in its sweetness but has a great mouthfeel. The butter is great. Swiss meringue buttercream, when you get it right, melts on your mouth, has a great mouthfeel. So the balance of that and the cupcake with texture is amazing, and that is simply what I am aiming for. That aside, I'm using margarine, and I have chosen caster sugar, and that is also because I am looking for a coarse crumb. It makes no difference whatsoever, because we are going to be adding some other ingredients, which is the jammy dodgers, to enhance the texture of the cupcake. So I'm not looking for a very delicate cupcake crumb, so I just chose granulated sugar. Another obvious way of saying it is simply because I didn't have caster sugar, so I decided to substitute the caster sugar with granulated sugar, which kind of enables my goal here. But if you have caster sugar, I would always recommend that. Over here also I have some egg yolk and a whole egg. There's about 110 grams here, which is about 3 egg yolks and 1 whole egg. There is milk. In my last cupcake tutorial, I supplemented the same amount for buttermilk, which slows down gluten formation when the butter is being made and enhances or adds to the delicate crumb we are aiming for. Today my goal for adding milk is just to enhance moisture so that the cupcake is not dry and crumbly, but a bit of milk will not be a bad thing. Sometimes you can have the milk and add a bit of white wine vinegar into that, but you can do without it, and if you're not too picky, it should make no difference. We have some vanilla here. I've almost run out here. There's an extra bottle I'll be picking up a little later. That is fine. And more importantly, we have flour. Normally when I'm baking a cupcake, the recipe that makes this cupcakes makes a whole cake too. I'll leave details of that in the description box for you to check out. But more importantly, whilst in the whole cake version, I prefer self-raising flour, which has leavening or rising agent in it. If I used the same exact quantity of self-raising flour in a cupcake, it overflows the lip of the cupcake case and falls over. And that is because the amount of leavening or rising agent in the cupcake in this self-raising flour doesn't hold well in the cupcake case. For that reason, I tested a few recipes around, tweaked my recipe, and eventually came to adapting it in a way where the flour is a mixture of plain flour and self-raising flour. It's about 100 grams of self-raising flour to 150 grams of plain flour, and a pinch of salt, which I have added. It simply means I am able to control the amount of leavening, which shouldn't rise too much in the cupcake case. Now, if you wanted to use this particular recipe to make a cupcake and get the same result as me, my most encouraging advice to you will be to stick with the ingredients, which is why I have taken enough time to talk you through the exact ingredients I am using here, specifically even without naming the brands. With the brands here, we have Flora margarine, we have granulated sugar. You can pick that in your local stores. This egg, large eggs, brands doesn't really matter, but I will encourage you to go for free range milk, vanilla, and the jammy dodgers. They are not distinctively difficult ingredients to pick up, but if you do pick this particular recipe, you want to make sure that you're sticking with the exact ingredients for better results, because substituting ingredients and changing things might not give you the same result, and it's not because of the recipe itself. So with that said, we are going to actually use the creaming method. There are different ways to get the batter done. You can use the reverse creaming, where the flour is mixed into the batter first. I'm simply resorting to the creaming method today, and we're going to be using a simple hand mixer here, and that is also because for convenience and also quantity. The quantity I am making is just going to fill in 12 liners, so there's no need to engage the stand mixer because of volume. So I'm just sticking to this, which makes it simply beginner friendly and easy to access. If you're a beginner baker, you should have access to a hand mixer so easily, which should help you get through a bake easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the sugar and margarine together with some vanilla. There is a quantity of vanilla required here that I will put in the description box for your convenience, but you need vanilla just as much as you're in love with it. So I've just poured enough till my heart drops, which is okay, but you can be like me or choose not to be like me. But I'll leave the exact quantities required for this recipe in the description box for you. So I'm just going to cream this for about 2 minutes, just so that the margarine and sugar mixture comes together, changes color, and consistency changes. I'll show you that when we get there. Now, a few minutes in, and our yellow looking margarine has changed color completely. It's looking off-white, and the texture and consistency has changed too. Now when you're creaming the sugar and margarine together, you want to be careful so you don't overbeat it, breaking the structure of the fat, which is the margarine in this case, because when that happens, it does affect the crumb and the rise of your cupcake. But for me, a good way to kind of gauge whether I have achieved what I'm looking for is you want to make sure there are no lumps of margarine or butter for that matter when you're creaming. You want to make sure that the mixture is homogeneously creamed together, which means there's a uniform mix. And perhaps to assist that aim, you want to be able to clean or scrape the sides of your bowl. Because we have such a small quantity here, it is rather easy to achieve. But if I was using the stand mixer for a larger quantity, perhaps stirring and scraping the sides in will be something I will do more often than not. But I've just given it a scrape and it all looks together in there. It is slightly warm today, which does eventually affect the temperature and consistency of your creamed mixture over here. So to be able to make sure that you haven't over creamed or over beaten your batter, for me, I test it by looking at it this way so that you have a simple slide. It's not falling over like liquidy, if you like, but I think I like it as it is now, because what I don't want to do is overbeat this to the point where I break the structure. Now I'm going to add in the eggs in here, and like I said, I am going to leave all the information in the description box for you. Now the reason why we have more yellow in here is because I added the egg yolks, and simply the egg yolks were extras that I got from making the Swiss meringue buttercream. Swiss meringue buttercream relies on egg whites, so I had some spare egg yolks and I thought I'll introduce them. Because of the fat in there, it is going to affect color of the cupcake, which will be more yellow, but it's going to be rich tasting also. So the case of using egg yolks here lends well to certain aspects of my cupcake outcome. You don't necessarily have to use egg yolks. You can swap the egg yolks with whole eggs, but the quantity has to remain the same. And for clarity, we're talking about eggs broken and weighed. That is a better way for me to measure the quantity of eggs that I use in my recipes. I find that other people will say 3 large eggs, but large eggs weigh anything from about 50 to 53 or worse 55 grams. So sometimes 3 large eggs may depend on how large is. So to take away the confusion, I prefer to break my eggs and then weigh them in my recipes. The eggs are added now, and the mixture is looking homogeneous. At this point, sometimes you can observe that your mixture is slightly broken and it looks curdled. If you're not quite adept with baking and some of the issues that may arise with making your batter and creaming elements together, you might probably feel a little bit scared over here. But no, even if it's broken, it will come together very shortly. At this point, I am going to introduce the flour in here. Now, I'm just going to dump the flour so I can hand mix that all in. And that is also because with the hand mixer over here, controlling the motor and the speed can be difficult to get at a homogeneous mix when the flour goes in without overmixing. So I prefer to get a head start by mixing the flour in a little bit by hand before I introduce the hand mixer. Now the milk is also going to go in now to enhance moisture over here. You can see our butter is on the yellow side, and that is because of the amount of egg yolks that has gone in there. So with that mix, I'm just going to use the hand mixer to kind of bring all that together rather quickly. And that is it. I'm going to mix that in one last time, and I am going to throw in the jammy dodgers. There's about 120 grams of that. You could use less, but like I said, I am just optimizing for crunch. So it's a bit like a cake with cookies, chunks of cookies in it. So you have chunky bits in there, and it should be so lovely when we get this baking. Now, this hot water here is to help distribute the cupcake batter easily. So I dip my scoop in there, which makes it easy to distribute the cupcake batter. The quantity I have here should make just about a dozen cupcakes, but I have struggled with exact quantities. Sometimes it comes a bit over a dozen, or sometimes we are one cupcake short of a dozen. So let's hope that we will get our dozen cupcakes. Okay. In my last live, I was complaining about when you have this, which is not enough to make a whole cupcake, but I'm also inclined not to waste my batter. So it can be awfully difficult, and I am also careful or weary not to overfill my cupcake cases so they don't overflow off the lip at all. I am tempted to scrape the entire thing, but I'm probably not going to give in to my temptation, and I'll let things be. Whilst we rotate, a good tip for when baking cupcakes is I put a tray of water underneath the bottom of the oven. I have a convection fan oven. Whilst we've been prepping the cupcake batter, the oven has been on preheat for about, I think, 10 minutes the entire time we've started this process. So let's say 10 minutes before prep and throughout the prep, it's been preheating at 160 degrees C. So it is really, really warm now. And what I'm going to do is, once the cupcakes go into the oven, I'm going to put that underneath so that it creates vapor, which is a sort of cooling system in the oven, and evaporates into the oven and helps to cool the cupcakes, helps to reduce the heat in the oven, whilst also ensuring that the cupcakes don't bake too rapidly. It gives a very delicate and evenly baked cupcake. So let's go do that, and we will continue in a moment. Okay, before I move quickly to starting with the buttercream, there are a few questions here for me, and I can see you trying to engage in the chat. I can see Amy from Give It a Go. Amy, it's great to have you. I can't believe that I have just hit 4K subscribers, which blows my mind. Well, in the world of YouTube numbers, 4K is a minuscule number, but I also know behind every subscriber is a person who has made a choice to follow and support my channel. So for all 4,000 of you, hello. It's a pleasure to have you, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am. I cannot imagine 4,000 people in the same space. I'll probably vanish. It will be too overwhelming, but a number so large as 4,000 warms my heart. And in YouTube numbers, you keep moving. So let's make it to the next and the next and the next. And I hope I can continue to have you here on, and I will be so grateful for you to support my channel. So whilst you're at it, if you haven't subscribed yet or you've just chanced on here, hi, consider subscribing. We are a supportive group here. I cannot tell you how much support I get. The comment sections are normally so positive. I have a bunch of you making recommendations for tips. A lot of you more of the time looking out for me, people standing up for me over there in the comment section. I think in my last shorts video I posted about feeling surviving on 3 hours sleep and then trying to make a cake, and somebody dropped a comment and said, don't forget to look after yourself. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, what a thoughtful message. And back to the subject of Amy. When I first hit 1K, Amy took time out to make a video just to acknowledge that feat, and I hadn't even thought about it. Amy runs a baking channel, so check out Amy over there. And Amy, I'm looking forward to catching up with you soon. There are a few other people here asking, Hazel, Victor Tomes, what's the difference between a cupcake and a muffin? Can I tell you? I don't know. I don't know, because I haven't even baked a muffin before. But when we come back to decorate the cupcakes, I should be able to inform you better. Look, over here we show our mistakes. We are vulnerable. We are honest. I have baked for nearly a decade. I can't tell you I've looked up what a muffin is, and it's actually shocking. Is it because I haven't baked one? So I'll note that question and we'll come back and we'll discuss the difference between a muffin and a cupcake. Amy, thank you. You've always wondered. Hazelmint said the different. Okay, so cupcakes are with cream and muffins are not, in my guess. Well, I guess you know what? I hate to speculate, especially on the internet, because we have experts out here. So I'll go with my answer, which is that I don't know. And it's not necessarily that I don't know per se. It's because I haven't sat there and considered it. I am very fact-based, especially when it comes to information. So perhaps let's Google it ourselves and leave what you observe in the chats, and let's see. Let's all stay educated about baking. But it's really a nice question, and I appreciate the question. Victor, are you laughing at me? I can see that. Yeah. Victor Toombs, is it me you're laughing at because I didn't know? Oh, the difference. Amy, maybe you should be kind of covering a sister and answering the question. You're a baker too, but I am enjoying these chats over here. Not Lily says, this is amazing. You just got a new subscriber. Just Lily, my heart is warm. Thank you. It's great to have you here. I hope you are enjoying the live session and also getting some value out of this. Doesn't help that I don't know the difference between a cupcake and a muffin. Anyway, if you find anything about cupcakes and muffins, let's know. I am laughing that we both don't. Well, it makes the two of us, isn't it, Victor? You don't have to feel alone in this life, you know. There are things that we don't know. Look, if I told you the stuff that people ask me, I think I'll tell you this about myself, right? What I like to dig in and know most things. What doesn't concern me, let's just say I don't bother. Okay? So I haven't made a muffin. I've made nearly 499 videos, I believe, on this channel, including shorts from when I started. And I haven't made one muffin. So that should about tell you. I'm hitting nearly 500 videos and I haven't even mentioned a muffin. So that should tell you. But we should be able to find that on Google. Hazel Mint says, what am I cooking up? Well, I'm making a simple cupcake, but I am optimizing for texture of the cupcake crumb, which is that I am adding Jammy Dodger cookies. They are very popular cookies in the UK that I have added. You can enhance the texture of a cupcake by adding additional elements or ingredients in the form of fruits or cookies or other things to enhance not just the flavor but the texture. So I'm making a simple cupcake that is going to be topped with Swiss meringue buttercream. Now, Swiss meringue buttercream is, I would say, an advanced type of buttercream that is made using egg whites and meringue. The egg whites are whipped with sugar, granulated sugar, over a double boiler. We call it a bain-marie, but it's certainly a double boiler where the steam from the boiler cooks the egg whites and sugar mixture. I don't suppose cooking is the right word to use in this context, because you're not looking to cook the egg whites. You're looking to bring the temperature up to a point where the bacteria, you can control the bacteria, or the egg whites become safe to eat. At that point, you transfer the entire thing into a stand mixer, whip it up to a meringue, stiff peaks until the meringue is cool. Also, you introduce the butter in it. I'm going to take you through part of that process, but like I said earlier, I have videos on here discussing Swiss meringue buttercream. I have broken down the process to become very beginner friendly and understandable, but the reason why I'm also undertaking it in a live session is to give you a feel of getting your results live with you. So that's a long-winded way of answering your question, Hazel Mint. But hello, it's a pleasure to have you. Let's see, what more have we got? So we have Amy, we have Victor, we have Hazel Mint. It's a pleasure to have all of you out here in the chat. But like I said, I'm going to move on to bring in the Swiss meringue buttercream, and we'll continue. I have really enjoyed this live. In my last live session, I wasn't able to see. In my last live session, I wasn't able to interact because I hadn't set myself up for a chat, which made it slightly difficult. But not forgetting, today is Sunday. What have you all been doing? I'm interested to know what your Sunday looks like. For me, my Sunday was more about going to church with family. So we've been to church, we came back, had burgers for dinner, and yeah, I'm back doing the thing I love. I love to bake anyway, and if I wasn't baking as a business, I'll still be finding reason. And actually, the reason why I'm making these cupcakes is my sister friend out here is bugging me. She loves my cupcakes. So as a treat, I thought I'm going to create a live, and then the cupcake will go to good use. So that's one thing to consider. Now, if you wonder why part of the meringue or Swiss meringue buttercream has been done, it goes back to what I said. I have videos on here, and I think I've done a live on Swiss meringue before also, but I also updated my most recent Swiss meringue buttercream video by putting all the information in one place with updates and all sorts, and then I followed that up with 10 tips to get your Swiss meringue buttercream right, I believe. So all of that is already on the channel, which I will also link in the description box here for you to check out. So as a result of that, I thought I'm going to cut to the chase and start the process, and then we'll take it up midway, just so that we can save ourselves some time and also get to rapidly see the results of our bake session, which is why we are here. So over here, what is in there, it's simply the meringue that I have beaten up to stiff peaks. Now, if you go back and watch the other videos, you should have a better understanding to the process. And earlier I was talking about it. So what happens is, when you get to the meringue making process, most videos that you will see will tell you whip the meringue up to stiff peaks before introducing your butter into the meringue. Actually, the key thing there is not just the stiff peaks, because the meringue can come to stiff peaks without cooling, and if you do introduce your butter in at that stage, the butter will melt, and then you have soupy mess in your buttercream making process. Some of the problems that commonly arise with making Swiss meringue buttercream includes the soupy or curdled nature of the buttercream, all of which I have explained in previous video. But simply, the consistency of your butter and temperature of both the butter and the meringue is important to getting better results. So what I've done is I have already whipped the meringue to stiff peaks and allowed it to cool. Much of the cooling can either be done by either allowing the meringue to set by itself for a while for it to cool, or you can put it in a fridge for it to hasten the cooling quickly for you. What I did was I put a tea towel I have said here when I made my review videos on the use of a stand mixer, I'm not particularly fast about the guard or over the mixer, which is why I use the cloth. But you can use the splash guard to cover it so that the meringue doesn't dry out. You can equally wrap it in cling film, anything to stop the meringue from drying out, but also to be able to cool, which is exactly what I have done here. The quantities that I am using here, I will leave all the information required in the description box for you. I am going to go ahead and add this cup of 59 grams. It's not so much 59 grams, but it really doesn't matter over here, because normally for this quantity, I think 50 to 80 grams of icing sugar is okay. Some recipes don't require the icing sugar. I add the icing sugar to lift the taste a little bit, so it doesn't make it too sweet or anything. It just enhances the sweetness, also balances out the buttery mouthfeel of Swiss meringue buttercream. And I've already gone ahead and added salt to the meringue. So you have salt in there, you have a bit of sugar to kind of level out the taste and give you a great mouthfeel. So I'm going to mix that in on slow. And what I'm going to do now is add the butter in pieces. The consistency of butter to buttercream is important for any buttercream, not so much just Swiss meringue buttercream. Any buttercream. I have discussed butter and the consistency in detail in all my buttercream recipes and videos, so you want to check those out for more information for yourself. Now, when making Swiss meringue buttercream, when the butter is added to your mixture, you want to look out for the change that occurs with the mixture. So the butter has clearly incorporated into the meringue, and now it is to be creamed together. Right, but you want to make sure that the entire mixture is incorporated properly. So at this stage, what I am looking for is to ensure that the butter is whipped up properly so that the yellow color changes to more off-white, which at that point breaks the butter also and softens it. It gives you a better mouth feel. But I have managed, thankfully, to the temperature of my butter, I've managed to avoid the buttercream getting curdled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this whip up for up to 4 or 5 minutes. I will look back at the chat and see if we can chat over the mixer, but sometimes it can be difficult because the mixer is loud a little bit. But I should also say the K mix isn't as loud as I thought it would be, especially for most mixers. Between the K mix and the XL is obviously louder, but the K mix is kind of tolerable. Preferably I would prefer a silent mixer. I don't know if that's the thing or that's just me wishful thinking, but if you're looking for a beginner friendly very useful mixer to start with, entry level, I will highly recommend the K mix. And I bought this mixer with my own money at AO.com, took time out to test it, and created a tutorial based on it. So trust that every word coming out of my mouth is because from my own experience and that nobody paid me. Have you seen the numbers on here? We are not sponsored, but it was important for me to bring the information because that was information I needed when I was searching for a mixer. So that is incredibly useful. I will link that in the description box for you to check out for yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way. Before we do that, let's have a look at the consistency here. It is such a pleasure. I enjoyed myself tonight. The mouthfeel is great. The mouthfeel of this buttercream is amazing. Because it's been warm in England. Yep, the cupcakes have been baking for 25 minutes now. I'm going to get those out in a moment. So I'm turning that off now. But yes, the mouthfeel is great, but it's warm in England today. So it's affecting the consistency of the batter whilst it's whipping. So I don't want this to stay out too long, because then you get oil settling on it because it's too hot and the batter is melting in the mixture. So I want to be very, very careful with that. But otherwise, I'm going to move. But we'll be back to use that in a moment to decorate our cupcakes. So, and here are our cupcakes. Right. So this is exactly why I wanted us to get the cupcakes out live, so we can see the results of our bakes. We can see that the cupcakes, I filled the cupcake cases rather full. So you can see that they've risen. Some of them have slightly domed and fallen out of here, slightly, but otherwise they are pretty much evenly baked, unevenly baked. For instance, you have this one that has baked evenly well settled, but that is also because of how much I scooped into each case. Because there are chunks of cookies, I couldn't get them evenly distributed. So I guess I got back what I put in. Cupcakes, these cupcakes just look like life. The amount you put in is what you get out. So in the meantime, when I said I had hot spots, this is the cupcake that was facing into the corner of the cupcake, and it's come out slightly bent over here. But otherwise, our cupcakes have come out great. Now, can we just break into one and see what we are looking at here? So you see, the texture of the cupcake is great. The cookies have jam fillings in the middle, so that has kind of melted into the cupcake. So if you're looking at this here, the flavor is great. The crumb, even though we used granulated sugar instead of caster sugar, the crumb is not delicate, but it's not coarse either. You have a very soft textured cupcake here, which is amazing to eat. It's difficult to have food in your mouth and also talk whilst you're at it. So, but the crumb is really good. The crumb is not coarse. It's not crusty, because sometimes with granulated sugar, the cupcake outside can crust up a little bit. But because we added milk to enhance moisture, which also settles the sugar in the cupcake batter, it's come up perfectly baked. In terms of the crumb integrity, it's actually very soft textured and lovely. The flavor of the jammy dodgers, which I underestimated, has come through rather nicely. So our cupcakes are exactly how I would have imagined it. I would have preferred this not to fall over, which can be sometimes difficult when you're trying to frost an evenly baked cupcake, because it gives you better results. But one thing you can do is that you can turn them over. I don't want to do that because it's not necessary. So what I'm going to do is we're going to finish the live now, and we'll be back in the next live within the next perhaps half an hour. I'll be back on a live tutorial again, where we will then frost these cupcakes and finish them off. But